Hi, my name is Fery, and so I am astrologer and shamanic healer based in Wellington, New Zealand. And so today I'm going to update my second episode of my podcast, Healing Journey with Fery Qiu. The topic today is the journey through poverty. The reason why I am starting this podcast is basically the intention behind this is really wanted to providing a platform for me, for myself, and also for people who going through real healing journey and to share their own stories, and then so that can be that can inspire people to do the same, and also having a realization and insight in their own journey. So that's basically the intention behind this. And so if you have any healing stories and that really inspire people to do the same, I'm more than welcome to message me, and we can suss that time and all the things out, and then we can put this into the public, right? Because I do believe the stories has the power of the movement, and to help people to grow and to evolve and to really inspire, motivate people to do certain things, and then show them there's a lot of possibilities in so many scenarios in our human experiences, right? So that's the intention of this podcast. And so today's topic is talking about the healing journey through poverty, and which is my own personal experiences. The reason why I want to share this really personal story is because I really want to deliver a really strong message that, like, no matter what circumstances you're in, no matter like what kind of childhood, what kind of like experiences you're going through life, because as a human, we're going through life, no matter it's difficult experiences or positive experiences, they all have lessons in it for us to learn, grow as a soul, right? So that's what I'm saying. This really personal, real story is want to inspire you. No matter what situation, what things you're dealing with, you always have a choice to change your reality. It's not just a manifestation, sort of like a technique or saying. It's a real experiences that I had in my life. So I'm going through different, of course, the story first, and then I will want to share like the poverty I've been through, what it has taught me, and also what the belief system I have carried from that as well, and how I overcome it, and until what I'm like now, what I'm doing right now, right? So that's just kind of like a brief structure. I might talk, but sometimes I might go 1,000 miles away. I'm not sure. But yeah, so I think that's just one thing I really want to share today. And also was interesting timing as well, because yesterday I had my birthday, right? And so, when I was a child, and because I was living in a situation where the poverty is like, it's not like a New Zealand or Western or developed countries type of poverty, is proper poverty, I have to say. So I remember when I was young, before 10, I was living in a house, and that house doesn't have any, the toilet in it. So I have to walking 10 minutes away from my house and going to a public toilet. And it's not like, the seated toilet kind of thing. It's a squat one. And basically the whole neighborhood, all the people is going there. And there's like a lot of worms and stuff like that. Really disgusting. I remember like I have to, for example, if you wake up in the morning, I will have to go to the toilet, and I will be really scared and to walking along by myself and go to the toilet. And I think that was my nightmare. And also I think when I was really young, I just feel like I really want to change my life. And it's like really strong determination, because I don't want to live in that situation anymore. And also in the house, and you always feel, for example, and when it's raining and it's gonna leaking, and also the floor is bare floor, and there's no carpet, there's no wooden floor, there's no anything, it's just barefoot floor and dirt floor, right? And also there's like a lot animal exist in the house as well, so you need to worry about, like, for example, the mouse is under the roof, and you might need to worry about at night that they might coming in and bite your feet. Also, I remember there's one day I realized when I opened my wardrobe, there's like a snake skin. So it's like there's also snake as well. So there's like a lot of animal coexist, right? So I think I remember when I was going through all of that, and also of course my parents, they're struggling with money, and so they're working very hard. It's barely at home, and just trying to just to exist, just to survive, and there's nothing else you can asking from them, right? Yeah, so I think I remember when I was really young, I just had a really strong determination that I want to change this, because this is not gonna be somewhere I'm gonna live forever. I really really want to change this, but because as a little child, I there's not much I could do, right? Yeah, so and also like of course my parents always struggling with the money and they fight with each other. I think that kind of like dynamic I carried as an adult. So I always feel like, for example, even though, yeah, I had like really strong determination, like to, for example, to change my life and to make the money, and I have no problem when I grow up to making the money, but always having that like scarcity mindset coming from this like the 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 environment I was grow up, and then for example I will doesn't want to spend more money on like on investing on myself, for example. I don't like to buy new clothes and all that kind of stuff. Even though like in China there's like a very materialism, consumerism, like you like they promote the status and the you know the luxury brand and that kind of thing. And for me it's never a thing, because I knew like I will never be able to afford, or like I don't wanna, like for example if I do this kind of thing I will be lack. So that's the mindset like come up like with that environment I was raised up, right? But yeah, and also to the other side, like the positive side of this, I realized was because I knew in that moment, in that situation, in the environment I was growing up, I have no choice. I have no one to fall back on. If I want to change this life, if I want to change this status, if I want to really live in a home where I can feel safe and feel cozy, and I have to like do something about it. It's not just gonna falling into my lap. That's not something like I was chosen to experience this, I guess, as a soul. Yeah, so I think that's also give me really strong determination and independence. I learned how to be on my own feet and being really strong in that as well. Yeah, so when I grow up, actually, I feel like I actually kind of like in a state where I never really worried about money, but I always able to just really kind of, like overcome the situation, because I never take things for granted. I always know if I want to achieve something, if I want to change something, like I always have the choice, and it's all on me. And also I think like the poverty itself and this experiences also give you like endurance, like you really endure this life and then you won't give up. But also I have to say, I witnessed some people in my life, in my childhood, maybe going through a similar thing, but the people can choose totally different paths, and they like always financially struggle, always, like kind of like carrying that victim like mindset and complaining about life, about okay, that's life is happening to me, so therefore they're always carrying that belief system like life has to be hard, and then they're manifesting similar experiences in life, right? So yeah, and I think that's just yeah, like, so that's what I'm saying. Like here, the poverty itself, yes, it's difficult experiences, but it's your choices to decide which path will lead you, right? And of course, going through, overcome all these experiences, all the belief system that carried with this, I have going through a lot of mindset shift, and especially around money, the relationship with money. And also I feel that's also reflective of like my own value as well, in a lot of sense, because like when you as a child and you're not able to express your need, because for example, birthday as a perfect example. So I can't not have cake until 10. It was because at before 10, like my parents just totally doesn't have the money, and everything's extra spending, and it's a luxury. So like, and then as a child I have that emotional charge around this, like okay, like yeah, I'm not important because no one's celebrating my birthday, why everybody else can have all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so that's where the little child wounded in that place, and then this kind of like inner child wound because of the experiences I had. And then when I grow up, for example, sometimes I'm really scared about like having my birthday or having people over. Like I will remember I was really ashamed of inviting everybody coming to my house because I'm ashamed of like, oh, where I live was like totally horrible, and I don't want people like, for example, my friends to see where I live, and because I don't know, like, it's just like a pure shame. I don't know where that coming from. Maybe it's because of the culture conditioning, the comparison, and the competitiveness in the culture itself. And I just feel like I never invite anyone come over to my house because I'm just like, no, like this is a something I'm ashamed of. And also, yeah, and also of course, like my parents couldn't even afford to providing food and all that kind of stuff to hosting like a like a birthday party or something. And sometimes I feel like they might feel like this not important in a sense because they never really actually celebrating their birthday because of how they raised up, right? So yeah, so I think that's where the emotional charge, the wounded child, that play out in my adult life, for example. Yeah, so I think I always having some sort of like a drama around birthday is purely because like my inner child expecting like a massive like like celebration and like all the connecting and all the like it's like kind of like basically it's all about me in that sense. And then yeah, it's like playing out in the adult life as well. So I couldn't like handle when people, for example, not go as you expected or maybe not on time and this tiny little things and totally different scenario, right? And that's where like you the nasty or like behavior, the snappiness or like passive aggressiveness coming through. And because that inner child hasn't felt like she was important in a lot of way, and so she was holding on to that energy, and until every time things triggered and that will comes out. And yeah, so that's like really fascinating to see how that just that little child with no guidance, no no one helped her to understand what's really going on or process her emotions, and then sacredly taking into our body. So that's also another thing I was doing in the shamanic healing as well. I think that's coming to a really important place in where my healing journey are. So I think, yes, I have done so many healing journey. This is the foundation. I feel like that's the first time I felt after all the inner child healing work when I had a really good relationship with my child. For example, yesterday, I think that was probably the first time I felt like the emotional stability. My little child was really like safe within, and doesn't really matter like what's really going on. There's no expectations and just a pure, simple gathering, and people can coming together and as they wish. And there's no pressure or things has to be certain way. Yeah, because like when a child experiencing poverty and the lack and the scarcity, so they're really holding on really tight into something because they never had it. Like for just for example, if you're thinking about like someone have been starving in the desert for ages and suddenly someone give them a little bit of water, and it will be totally different for people who can just drinking water every day, right? So it's that kind of energy, right? Like I really spent a lot of time to understand her behavior and why she is triggered in certain way and what is need behind this, right? Yeah, so I think this is the first time I really just enjoyed that, like having that emotional maturity and emotional stability in myself, and just purely enjoying a simple but special day. But there's nothing else I need to expect for or make a scene or like being dramatic about it. Because I even remember before I had like a little bit sort of, how can I say, like a fear of having a birthday because that's, oh, what if like no one will come? What if, you know, um, like, um, like all this kind of fear for rejection and fear of like, oh, okay, what if like I am not important? It's basically I will intentionally remove all these triggers around me, and so I can feel okay, peaceful about it. But it's really fascinating to see how yourself and like like I think the fascinating about inner child healing is like you can see only yourself will know when she will do some certain behavior, and that actually coming from a childhood wasn't really actually based on the event in front of you, right? Yeah, so I think that's just like really interesting thing to see and I want to share. And so that's what I'm saying, like when all the like we all going through life, right? No one have a perfect childhood. But like, and also like when you see how I tell you the story now. So I remember when I first started my healing journey, I was starting to share a little bit about my story. But I remember when I was sharing this story, there's so much emotional charge around it, right? So I feel like there's a difference between sharing a story but still in the victim, and you grabbing attention and you wanted people to just feel empathize with you. You want to feel heard and seen and understood. That's different, right? And now I just really want to sharing this story, not because I want to be seen, heard, or understood. I just really want to deliver a message, like really strong message, like you can choose what you can learn from experiences, right? So of course, because of this experiences, like really like push me into a direction of healing. And you have no choices, because like basically all this inner childhood coming from that environment, like really shaped who I was. And then it's up to me to change, like do I want to continue stuck in the past or stuck in that version of me, or do I want to manifest the life I really want, or like really match align with who I am or who I becoming. Right? So this is a really strong message to share. Just if you're struggling in something financially or money wise, you always have a choice. It really depends on what you believe in. Basically, you become what you believe. So I think I am really grateful for this, because I have witnessed a lot of story, similar environment, and totally go on different paths. Some people going through poverty and they just totally complain about their life, and yeah, just like feel like being the victim, right? Saying, hey, the life is happening to me, right? And this is like happening to me, it's a punishment. And when you have it in that like vibration, in that energy, of course, all the things is just like repeating, like validating that the emotion you had. So I feel lucky that in me, like I have a really strong rebellious spirit in me saying, hey, I don't I don't believe this, and I think this is gonna. I don't believe like this is my reality. I will change it, and I can change it, right? So I don't know where that coming from, but that's just naturally within me. And also even like even going through all that, like I was the only child. My parents always wanted to, for example, because they are financially struggling and they're always arguing with money and all the drama happening in the household. So it make me like really see, like I don't want to live this in this kind of life. I want to live in a totally different life. But I can see I couldn't rely on them, so I have to really like pulling my power back, saying, hey, I am the one to change all of this. And also they have all the expectation on me, because I'm the only child, to help them to change their life. And therefore I have like actually really strong sort of like expectation and responsibility on me to change the whole family and how we live life. But yeah, and then yeah, and also of course, because in China, for example, the education is really important. We have like 3 years, and you have to from high school before the university, like pretty much every single Chinese person, if you really want to change your life, and you have to have a degree, otherwise your life basically being fucked. So that's why I remember I've been through a military kind of like studying in my life. That 3 years from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. That like really high pressured and studying mode, and in order to pass the university exam, because there's so many people living in China and it's much more competition. And if you want to be good, you want to be in the top of the university, you have to working hard, right? So I think in that sense, that experiences itself, yes, I was crying. I feel like I was like really under pressure, and there's so many people in China maybe going through the similar experiences, and also maybe having some sort of like a suicidal mental health issues because of that, because that's really harsh and really like pressured environment. Uh, the positive side of it, and I can see from that, is that teach me discipline, right? So if you really want something, and if you really want to, so there's nothing for free, right? And a lot of people will like kind of like argue with, oh, you just need everything, especially when the manifestation things are like all over the place, that people say, oh, you just need to manifest things effortlessly, right? It shouldn't be that hard. I do agree in a degree, but also I feel like sometimes like, yes, you manifesting things, but also it requires you having the action, having the discipline to do things. And there's another story coming from this, like about the discipline of manifesting things is, I remember like, for example, like before 10, I was living in that house, like, the really not great house. And the only wish I had as a child is like, I want to move in a house with a toilet. And then I starting to folding like a little paper boat and then sending it to the nearby river, and every single day pretty much. And after 5 years, my dream come true. Even though I don't know how, because in that scenario, my parents definitely wouldn't able to afford any like house, but they're still in the same job. But because I think there's some situation happened, and then because the stuff in my dad's company can have like a cheaper price, and they somehow managed to get a new house, which is fascinating how that manifests. But at back then, I don't understand all this like spiritual energetic stuff. But now when I looking back, I was like, yeah, that's actually needing some sort of like effort or consistency, and also the action as well. So it's not just like you just think about it and you put it out there, it will come. It actually needing some healing, clearing, and all that kind of like all coming into the place. Yeah, so that's why I was saying like, yeah, so like when you're really looking back all the stories and how you tell a story, you will know whether you are healing from it or you're not. Because sometimes I know if I'm telling a story, I'm still feel like a lot emotional charge around it. I was like, okay, there's something within me, there's some sort of energy or belief still inside of me, hasn't been cleared. Right. So yeah, so I think that's just like a little story I really want to share. Like I said, the biggest message here is to really you can change your reality. You always have choices, even though going through the tough time, right? And sometimes when you're starting to complain about things, when you're starting to like say, hey, things is impossible, and that's where you stuck in the victim and stuck in the like really low vibration. I'm not saying low vibration is a like a something better or lower than, it's just literally because we all energy. And if you really want to matching the highest potential of your life, you have to really do some inner work to clear, to match the dream life you always wanted, right? And even for me, I keep reminding myself, like in my life, yeah, what I think, and yes, another thing I wanna share about the experiences of the poverty is actually give you a lot of appreciation and gratitude of everything you have, because everything you have is so hard to get, right? And you will be more, you won't take things for granted, because I think that's a thing when people living a privilege, and normally people will just take things for granted. Oh, it's just normal, it's nothing special, right? And there's no gratitude and appreciation of the little things they have. I think that's another thing I really appreciate these experiences, because when I earn what I have or earn what I get, and I really have a little appreciation. For example, the flowers in the garden, and even having a garden I can sit in, even like all the environment and every little things I had. So I think I also had like a really good things, like because of this experiences, because like you don't have really good home to live with when you was a child. So I think I had a sense of like whenever I go, I can build a beautiful home. I remember when I was in Queenstown studying, have a tiny little, like the bunk bed, and so that's just my little tiny home, right? So even for that, because I want to be comfortable, want to safe, want to be cozy, and I'm starting to like decorating some like curtains and put some fairy light and have some like the pictures on it. So just make it cozy and safe. And also you can see that's how, because I doesn't have a cozy home to live in when I was a child, and it's not provided in a lot of way. So now I'm starting to creating that space for myself whenever I go, no matter it's renting a house or like even just like, for example, even for me go for a road trip, I will decorating my little car, little van, and just make myself a home, and so I can feel safe to live in. So yeah, so I think this is a lot of experiences. It's not just a difficult experiences. It's actually to teach you a lot of things and to push you to in a path where you can overcome it and now become the sharing side of things, and then so you can motivate people to actually doing the same, right? So I think that's the today's podcast, what I'm sharing. And if you do have your healing journey, your healing story that really kind of inspiring people, and please feel free to contact me. And I hope you enjoy this episode, and thank you very much.